Hello again, and welcome to another tutorial. And this time of course in repairing cameras and lenses. And this time I will continue with my Olympus XA, and I will dig deeper into the camera. There is not really oil on the aperture blades or the shutter blades, but I will just show you how it could be if there was. I mean, there is maybe some oil film on them, but not really serious problem. But let's see what we can do about it. And I have already disassembled the blind, the front cover and the bottom cover. So, but you can see it in the first video of this one, how I actually take the camera. I mean, how I open the camera. And this time I will just show how we take off the front here and go into the aperture blades, and deeper in there will be the shutter blades. And just for, I mean, there are some, I found out because somebody mentioned that it was not the same they have in their camera. So, well, I have another one, which is here. And there are actually some various elements in there. So let's see how similar are they actually. I mean, this is the newer. I mean, it has a higher, very much higher number. The old one, which is this one, has number 313257, and the newer, which is much there's one digit more, there's 5088452. So this is a much newer camera. But I mean, if we just look at them, there doesn't seem to be that much of differenceness or various. But there are actually. I mean, the most. I mean, what you actually can see around the lens. This is a brass ring here that holds the aperture and the gap for the light meter, the two photo sensors inside here, which is almost the same here, but the front here on the newer is black plastic. And there are some differences, because there is this is plastic, all plastic with a thin plastic film. You maybe can see it's so there are some differences, but there's also the way the camera actually opened the blinds for the rangefinder. This is the old one, and this is the new one. And it doesn't really, there's not much differences in those two, but there are actually. The way the pin that is connected to the front cover opens the blind. This is the old one. So if I do so, it moves and turn on the camera. But if I do it on the newer version, I mean, something will happen almost the same, but the way things move is a little different, as you can see. I mean, hopefully it goes all the way over to the one side and turns on the camera, and at the same time the blinds go away from the rangefinder window. But it's the same here, but the way it moves is a bit different. There's also a pin here. In the old one it looks like it's made of brass or something, and there's resting pin here that actually move the when moving the slider here for the flash, it will move. And also the little pin out here on one side of the camera. But how about the other one? Well, it's almost same design, but if I move it to the flash setting, it will go like this, and also the pin out here will move. So there are some variation in here. Also in the bottom of the camera, if we look here, closer look into those. In the old one, there are some more parts here that is put together, and there are some pins here that is not in use. I don't know what they are for, but there was nothing on those. But on the newer version, there are some, I mean, they simply miss here, as you can see. And the circuit board down here, there's also some differences in the layout, almost the same, but also the color of the cords, the wires. This is the old one, seems like that, and this is the newer one up here. And there's something here around when when the camera has fired, there's a small I use another video camera today, so I do not have a monitor as the same way. Now there's a little different in the contact here compared to the other one. This is the old one, and this is the newer version. Also, there's one thing that also is different from the old one. The ASA, I mean, not the ASA, but the aperture. If I move it, I also move the ring around here, and of course the aperture plate. But the pin in here, which is this one here, that actually connected to the round part here, is different. If we look to the newer, this pin here, it's actually fully exposed, and compared to the other one, you will see here and there So to lift out the aperture, I mean the the ring for the aperture here, one need to take off the brass ring and then lift it up and actually pull it out that way. In the newer version, there are, it looks like it's the same, but here you just take off the name ring plate and just lift up the this part here with the for the light meter. So it's more simple. So so it is. But let's get back to work and actually go deeper into the camera. We need some tools, just a few. I mean, some dentist tool I really like to work with. Those, and they're very pointy, and I have modified some of them. Especially this one is, I have made a tiny hook on this one. It's good for working with small tiny springs. And of course the very pointy with two pointy ends. And this is a flat spade look-alike in each end. And of course some tweezers, anti-magnetic, is very handy, stainless steel. A compass or a lens tool, which we will use for taking off the name ring, retaining ring on the front. And of course some JIS screwdrivers. And this is just a modified PH00, which I have filed just the very pointy tip, so it works as a JIS. I mean, I know it's not a JIS and will never be it, but it works really good. This is also a JIS from Moody Tools, and it's a 2.5 millimeter, which is also very good. But I prefer the Vera brand. I think it's better. That's just me. I mean, some small cotton buds, which is very handy, and a small lens sucker. And it is really good too when working with the aperture plates in here and the shutter plates. It's very easy to use. I think you can get some similar on torlabs.com or something like that. And we also need some isopropyl alcohol, 99%. So that's it. Let's continue. Too much talk. Well, I will just unscrew the front nameplate, and for that I will use my old compass, which I also have filed and grind the two ends here, so it's really good to work with cameras and lenses, especially on lenses. It's old, yes, but it's a good tool. And since the plastic ring in here does not sit that tight, so by unscrew it counterclockwise, I can just get it off. So, and then I will take off the ring for the light meter, with all those small holes that will be smaller and smaller. And this is the newer version with the plastic film look-alike. And you see, just take it on again. There are two holes, two holes in one side, so just remember how they should sit. It with the long hole here. It's actually impossible to put it on here, so just to mention it. So, and the next thing is the aperture handle, arm, lever, whatever it names has. I also need to unscrew with the two screws here, tiny screws. So it's good with a magnetic screwdriver for that. So, and simply off for that. It sits the spring here that's connected to make the click here around. But I can just take it out. So, no problem. And the next thing is to actually lift out the two photo sensors, light sensors. But before you do so, you put the focus all the way over to one side, as long as it can, and the ASA ring all the way as long as it can come, because here there is a I don't know what it calls, but it looks like it's get locked into place with the first click here, so it cannot fall out. So therefore the focus ring has to be all the way over to here, and the ASA the other way, the clockwise, and the focus ring counterclockwise. So now it's free here and can be lifted out. So that way, and just there are 4 wires, thin wires, and you can just let them be there. The wire should be long enough to just sit here and rest. Now, to take off the focus ring itself, I also need to unscrew the connection pin from the focus ring itself into the floating element that actually makes the focus. When you adjust it, it will make the correct focus when you move it. And it's connected deeper inside to the rangefinder system. So but before taking out this screw, we need to simply make a scratch. And of course I have been into the camera before, so by using a marker somewhere, it should be a white, or this is a gold, then you simply make a mark here on the plastic, on the side of it, and then make a scratch on it here on the plastic, not only on the upper part here, but also on the lower part here, because then when assemble the camera again, you will know where this part should sit exactly. So it's very important to do that before you take it apart. And then it's unscrew it. It's all plastic here, so out of that part. Oh. So this is the pin. Works. Actually, it is very simple, but so it is. And now we are into the floating element here. And there is no problem by moving this part. So the next thing is I have to lift up the focus ring, but before doing so I also have to lift the ring for the aperture connection, which you can see here when I move the ring here. The plates, oh, can we get them back to place again? Of course we can. So here you can see how it works when moving the aperture ring. I mean, moving the aperture. Yeah, if it was over here, I can simply move the aperture mechanism. So it's no problem, because then I can just lift up the aperture ring, or whatever name it has, and there's a gap here. Oh, there's a gap here that I could use, and then simply free it from the actual mount here for the lens, and then I can unscrew those two screws that makes the click. But before doing so, I also need to make some small scratch here around, especially around this part here, so I know where it should sit. But also make a scratch here. As you can see there. Because then I know that the click is correct. So out with those two tiny screws. And then this little fellow will come out. The screws are really small. And then it's possible to lift out the focus ring here, and I mean, it should be possible. Trains. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry. Can I just get this out again? So there. So course I need to unscrew the lens assembly here, and there are actually 3 screws here. I mean, you can see 5, but only this screw here, this one, and this one need to be unscrewed, because then you can come into the aperture blades, but not the shutter blades yet. So the 3 screws here comes out. The one screw here in this camera is countersunk, and the other 2 are not. One thing to mention, when taking out the last screw, there is the aperture blades will be free, so take care of that, because they have to sit in exact position. So one can actually just hold the on the front. It's good to use rubber gloves. So so that's it. And now it should be possible, I mean, it should be possible to lift out the whole front lens group without any problem. And the focus ring will follow. It can be a little tricky to have all those parts so there it is. Too many parts, but we'll make it. Now here you can see the aperture blades in here and how it actually works. The blades are not the same. There are 2 different blades, just to mention that. But this is how it looks. So when we move the slider over here with the round plate, I can actually move the blades like this. And of course it's because the tension of the spring under here, under this plate here, where the shutter blades actually sit. So to take out the aperture plates, there are 2 different. There's one with a curved end, and other with a straight. One with a curved gap and one with a straight gap. So when I take them out, I will just use my lens sucker here, because it's just easier to do. So, and should be possible to lift them out. Only one? Should not go that easy. But with a dentist tool I can just lift one blade up. So. So this is how it looks. It's the first blade, and if we look closer to that, you can see the gap here, the long gap, is curved, and it should sit in last. I mean, it's just it's the last blade you put in. There, and the other one. Oh, that was weird. It's not the best lens sucker yet. But here you can see the difference. The other gap here was curved here, and this is straight, so it should come in first. So, and now we can actually go deeper into the shutter blades and simply dig them out. Where's my screwdriver here? There are two screws that holds in place this round plate here, where the shutter blades are under. And it's not only the shutter blades, there are over here, there are first, when I take off the plate, there's one small tiny plate that is connection between those two pins. And next come the shutter blade, and again there's a tiny plate, and then the last shutter blade. But I will show you. So off with those two screws here. And of course, the screws here are not the same. So the first screw I screw out should sit here. And the next screw I screw out should sit there. Because there are some differences in these threads. I mean, it looks like there isn't, but in my camera there was some difference, some small variation. I could not put the screw in here or the opposite. So now take off the plate here by lifting up here. And this plate come out. And one can see there is some light kind of oil film, also what it is, but not really anything special. Now the next is the tiny plate in here. So remember how they sit here. There's a tiny plate first that I need to take out, and it can be a little tricky. So sometimes it's better to just lift the whole blade up. And this is the tiny plate that comes off first. And next the first shutter blade, and remember how it sits. It should sit the middle pin and the pin most upper, facing upper. So the blade should sit like this. That's the first blade. The second one which sits opposite can also be a little annoying to to take out, because they are so thin. But one can just lift up the plate here and hopefully get the tiny plate here off. So, and it looks like this. It's the same, but the blade sit in the opposite. Oh, the blade here, which I take out as number 2 blade, sits the opposite direction, a position. So it is. And now we are actually in here, where we actually can see the back lens group. It's not really possible to get into that right now, because then you have to disassemble the whole part here around, and it's not part of this case. But there are some dust in there, and I will just use a blower and to hopefully get some of it out. So then it helps. Now put the camera aside, and then I will just clean the blades. And use some isopropyl alcohol and a lens cloth, which is very good for that. So I will just put in one blade, which is number 2 blade, and just get it a little wet. And of course I could take the other one too. I just have to be sure where the 2 blades sit. So, and it's enough that you got just get them wet. Come on, little fellow. So if there are any oil on the blades, it should be the way you actually clean them. It looks like there's still something on here. Okay, then it looks fine. So it is, and then the first blade. So. And don't bend the blades, they're very thin, but actually very strong. Wow, looks like they are new, so that's fine. That's actually the same with those aperture plates. and it looks like there are some oil on those aperture plate, but now they look fine, as they should. So and now it's perfect. I could also dig this, put this into, I mean, part of it, put it into the isopropyl alcohol, and then clean it too. I'm sure it will be very good. There was actually some oil in here, kind of oil film. I can just blow the rest of it away. So that's actually fine, and that's ready. And now it should be possible to actually put things back in again, but I will just do some light cleaning in here of the parts in here. Because if there was some oil film also, there will not be any more. So, and it's fine for now. And then I can actually just put in all those tiny parts, and beginning with the shutter plate here. So, and the tiny plate goes in here. So, no. So, there should sit, and the next plate I mean, this one is actually the first plate. So, then the little plate here. And stay there. Okay, I need to load my screwdriver with a screw. Where did it go? There. And it's a good thing to have two screwdrivers, because then I can load the other screwdriver with the other screw. And then put in this plate here, which should sit, where did it go? Oh, of course it has to sit the opposite. It should sit like this, of course. Oh, where is that pin? So it should sit like this, of course. How stupid can one be? So, and where did it go? It should sit like this. I mean, it can only sit in one position. The hole there for this pin there. So, and it sits where it should. And one can just screw here. There. Then the other screw. Click. And gently tighten it. So, wow. And then the aperture plates, and then I will just load my screwdriver with one screw. So I'm ready to tighten the things. So one aperture plate goes in, and the first one is straight, which goes in here. Oh gosh. Do you hear mine little plate is magnetized? Let's see. So, and if I move the pin here, one can actually see the plate is moving. So, and I can just add the where is that bloody hair coming from? Sometimes they're green, small green and red hairs. I simply don't know where they come from. They are just there. So it is. And on with this. And then close the aperture here. Oh. There it is. It looks like it's too small, but it isn't. So if I move the pin here, the aperture will also move. So that was actually that, and then I can just add my my focus ring and the lens, front lens assembly. Put this away here. So first the focus ring comes on. It's a bit little tricky. Just need a tweezer. You see, there's one thing I forgot, and it's actually the connection pin. I just forgot it. You see, how does the connection to the rangefinder mechanical part? Well, there's a tiny pin here, right there. So when pushing it down, it will move the rangefinder in there. One can actually take it out. This tiny pin. Maybe it needs some oil or something. I could just use a little isopropyl alcohol. It will maybe clean it, because it looks like it's a bit sticky. Yeah, that was much better. So this pin here could be, if the rangefinder doesn't really work perfect, I would think that this pin gets sticky. So you can just take it out and clean it with some isopropyl alcohol, which I would think will be fine. So, and the way it actually moves is, you see here on the focus ring, this area here is actually the area where it pushes on the small pin. So it's a slope, kind of a slope, that actually move the, when moving the focus ring, it will also, because of the slope, like this, it will push down on the pin, connection pin for the rangefinder. So be sure it comes on correct. There. So it should sit like, come on, little fellow. So if I move the focus ring, it will also push on the rangefinder connection pin. Now then I can actually add the lens, front lens group on it, and then I'm more safe in place. But when putting on the front lens group, one have to be sure, because the aperture connection in here need to be pulled out. So there it is, and then it sits where it should. So now I can I can actually just add one screw here, and I am actually safe home. So and just that here. So the aperture connection pin, connection ring, comes on. And there's also a gap here around this gap here in the ring, this tiny gap here. So what I do, I push the aperture ring all the way over as long as it can, then I can push it down. So by holding here and moving the ring, it will move the aperture plates as they should. So everything is in proper order. What I just missed is actually need to take this out again, because I will put in the small click part and the screw. It was just a quick test to see if things work proper. So, and the last of those screws. So it is. And now the tiny, where did it go here? This pin here, this click. So there, and a screwdriver. It's the same screw, the same length of screw, those two. So I just need to hold on it because it's magnetized screwdriver, so it will probably fool around. And where is the other? Okay, here. And I will not tighten it yet, because I need to just adjust it. And that's why it is so important to set a scratch where the with some parts like this should sit when it's correct. The repair manual tells something about it, but this is just much easier. So now we are almost safe home, and can put in the aperture ring here. So, and of course move it all the way over, so it move it all the way over to do it again. I was just out of frame. Move it all the way over, and so you can put it down and simply move the aperture ring, and things will work as they should. So that's actually great. Now then it's time to put in the connection with the focus. I mean this part here, this hook, kind of. So I can just take it as much over as I can, and it sits like there. And since I have a mark, I know where it should go when it's correct adjusted. So I will just add the screw, then I can make my adjustment. So the mark here should be the mark here should be in line with the scratch I already set before. I took it apart, and it needs some adjustment there, and then I can just tighten the screw gently. So it is, and yeah, then I can add my ring here with the two like resistance. So put it in, put it under there. So, and it says click click. That's fine. So things should look like it going fine. Just add a so. Now I can put in the aperture pin here with a little hook, and of course there is a spring up here which I need to grab, and so like this, draw it a little and put on the aperture slider here. So, and then it works. Now on with the two small screws. So, I mean, that's actually fine. And it works pretty good. So then I just need to put on the I don't know what it calls, but a plate that, I mean, dim the light to the two light resistors here. So on with that. It can only sit in one position. It will say there with the pin here. And then I can add the plastic ring here. and just try to see it works before you actually tighten the front ring here. And then gently tighten it. So that was that. Wow. Now my aperture plates actually work pretty good. So hope you can use the info about the camera in this video. Yeah, that was all. Bye bye.